Where Colin was right.
I said Cliff Kingsbury was the hire of the offseason, that he and Jayden Daniels would make the playoffs. It's better than I thought. But right now, offensively, this was my shock pick in the NFL. Last year, Houston was shocked. Everybody, I said, this is the team that'll make the playoffs. I didn't think they'd be this profound. Third straight game with at least 34 points. But Kingsbury, he had used this offense, similar styles, to other young quarterbacks. So Jayden Daniels and Cliff was a predictable and ideal fit.
Yeah. So Colin definitely deserves a ton of credit for this, because he was really one of the few people to really talk about the Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels connection. And obviously you guys know that I've spoken very highly of that and have made lots and lots of videos over months talking about why I think it will work. And yeah, I agree. It's better than I even, quite frankly, imagined, because Jayden Daniels is even better than I even imagined. I mean, I said that they were going to be great and could win and can get to the playoffs. But this is just, they are just rolling right now. And Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels just have such a ferocious connection right now, right? That honestly feels, it feels unstoppable. Can you imagine if the Commanders can really elevate their defense? I mean, I don't really take away much from, you know, Deshaun Watson and the Browns. I'm sorry. Like there's no takeaways from that game defensively. There's just not. You can if you really want to boost up the Commanders, but that's a fool's errand from my viewpoint. And I do think the defense is getting better little by little, which I've talked about at length as well, is that it's going to take a minute or two for Dan Quinn to be able to do what he wants defensively, not only from a on the field perspective, but also just getting the people that he needs. That definitely will take a minute or two. But the fact that they're having this level of success, like, I'm really excited. To me, the real barometer game, it's not even going to be the Ravens, because I know they play the Ravens. There won't be, okay, if they win, this is where it's going to be asymmetrical. If they win, it'll be a huge takeaway, obviously, right? They just beat the Ravens, and the Ravens are obviously no slouch. But if they lose, even if they lose a lot, right? Even if they lose 34-13, I won't say, oh, well, the you know, Commanders are clearly fool's gold. They're not actually that good. They've just been beating bad teams. Like, I won't do that, because the truth is that the Ravens should win this game. And they should beat them pretty good. They should. These are shoulds, right? I mean, all of it is in the Ravens. Like, they're the seasoned veterans, right? They're the ones with the seasoned veteran quarterback, with the tank of Derrick Henry, right? This is a rebuilding team. This is a team that is light years ahead of schedule. This should be a very easy game for any established team that really has had legitimate success with great quarterback play and great defenses. They should be able to exploit every little weakness that the Commanders have. So losing this game when it's only going to be their sixth game, you know, of Jayden Daniels' career is what should happen. So losing is in no way would be like, well, clearly they're just not that good. Jayden Daniels just got hot, blah, 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 blah. It's not the way I see it. But if they end up winning, that would obviously be like, oh my God, this team is, you know, unexploitable, if that's a word, right? Like, you can't exploit this team. Jayden Daniels is not going to make his rookie moments of some sort, right? Dan Quinn is getting this defense going sooner rather than later. Cliff Kingsbury is continuing to just dominate from an offensive game plan perspective, and that would be just wildly impressive. So put that game aside. The real games that I'm looking at are going to be versus the Eagles and the Cowboys, right? Because those are obviously divisional games. And even more so, the Cowboys, especially if they're full strength. Because the Eagles, they have a habit of winning but still dropping and not looking great, especially divisional games, which they've done in years past, right? They'll split with the Eagles, just sneak on by the Commanders, but yet they'll still find themselves in an NFC Championship game or even a Super Bowl. So I take less of that. But the Cowboys, who have obviously consistently beat up on teams like the Giants and the Commanders, as Commanders fans are well aware, that to me is going to be what's interesting, right? How does that game turn around? And especially because the Commanders, and it might not even be a fair test, honestly, because Dan Quinn should know Dak Prescott and that offense deeply. And honestly, some of the weaknesses of the defense as well. Even though it's a different defense, he still is going to be intimately involved in what Micah struggles with, what Diggs struggles with, whatever it may be. So that should be a huge advantage for the Commanders. And I would be so fascinated to see how that game unfolds. It'd be interesting, too, if the Eagles are full strength, right? You got AJ, you got Devontae. Things have kind of stabilized from the coaching thing and they're not spiraling, because if they're spiraling and the Commanders beat them, then it's like, yeah, that's great for the Commanders, but it doesn't tell me a lot of information. I would need to see the Eagles right the ship, playing good football, great football, and seeing how the Commanders fare, as well as the Commanders versus the Cowboys, because to me that will be a decent barometer to be like, okay, where are we right now? Because it's hard for me to make sense of where are we right now at beating the Browns, right? Beating the Cardinals. That was such an emotional, intense game. The Cardinals seem to be very hot and cold as well. They're either balling out or they either look lost, right? They have their moments where Kyler's either, top 3 quarterback or bottom 5 quarterback. So it's like, again, it's hard to figure all of that out. But I just think that the Commanders are obviously going in the right direction. They're obviously having an insane amount of success. It's just been unreal, better than anyone could have honestly predicted. People are saying, right, oh, he's having the best rookie start of any quarterback in the history of the NFL. But the truth is like, he's having the best, like, 4 or 5 game stretch in, like, any quarterback, not just rookies, but like of any NFL quarterback. So it's just becoming more and more legendary. And there is the feeling, which I've kind of talked about before in my previous video posted today, of like, there's this feeling of like waiting for it to kind of break. And it's an understandable. I kind of like called out Greeny for it, and probably a little bit too aggressively so, because there is always like, okay, this can't go on forever. This can't go on forever. And to a degree, he's right, because it is true. You can only be so hot for so long, right? Like you're going to have a game that's really bad, or a couple games that are bad, whatever it may be, right? You don't just make shot after shot after shot after shot. It's just not the way things go. But at the same time, there's like this feeling of him coming back down to earth, right? Kind of like a Jeremy Lin sanity type of thing, right? Where it was like, this player is just so hot, but this is not actually who he is. So you can have two things with Jayden Daniels, where he will have some sort of coming down to earth, but this idea, I think there's some feeling that he's playing like this right now, like literally off the screen, and that he's going to come back down to earth and it's like this, or it's going to kind of go back like this. When in reality, he's probably playing extra. And when he now kind of averages out a little bit, it's going to be like that. He's still going to be like off the screen, right? It's still going to be like really, 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 really high and legit. He'll still probably have some moments, but it's going to come back here. There's the feeling that he's going to come back down, and now he's, okay, there we go. This is who Jayden really is. And it's like, no, he'll probably be here. He's going to come down, come back up a little bit, right? And then kind of be like that. So that's kind of, my issue with it. This isn't just someone who just caught fire, right? Who's just on a hot streak, but he's actually not as great as advertised, right? He's better than advertised. And yeah, I still feel, I will still always repeat this until it's finally no longer the reality. This continues to be an under talked about the discussion topic, right? This wasn't even in Colin's main show right now. This was just in his, where Colin was right, where Colin is wrong. And it's like, dude, the guy is absolutely balling out. And I get it, because it is the Browns, right? And so like, it's just not a big moment, right? Even though Commanders fans love it, but beating Watson and the Browns right now are hardly anything to celebrate, quite frankly. But it's still remarkable. What he's doing is still insane. And it's yeah, I run out of things to say, honestly. I'm starting to get anxiety now about making Commanders and Jayden Daniels video. Seriously, because I'm just like, I don't know what else I can say. I mean, I just keep saying how great he is and this and that. I keep trying to like find new ways to compliment him, and I think I have in my previous video I did, but I'm just like, I don't know what else I could say. He throws unbelievable. He reads defense is unbelievable. His decision making is unbelievable. His accuracy is unbelievable. His speed is unbelievable. His ability to run is unbelievable. I'm like, how am I just gonna keep saying that every single video? Will people get upset? It literally causes me angst now, and I watched this game, and it was one of the games that I watched live, and I'm like, okay, you know, this game has potential to kind of get a little wonky, right? Their defense could potentially cause Jayden Daniels and Commanders trouble, and they got off to like a somewhat slower, just different start than what they had been doing. And I was like, I already wrote in my notes like, hey, you know what, Jim Schwartz dominates rookie quarterbacks, just is what it is, these things happen. And then it just, you know, and then it just switched, and it was just like, all right, let me cross that out, you know, because in terms of my notes, and I was just like, man, this guy is just this is just it right now. At this point, if the defense was better, if the defense was stronger, and if he didn't have that deep feeling of like, this is a rookie quarterback, this is, you know, a young team, you would have the feeling, if you didn't know that, if you had the sense that the defense was a little bit better and you didn't know that this was a rookie quarterback, right? So you don't have that embedded feeling of like, well, this is a rookie. Rookies can only go so far typically in the NFL. You would say that this is a Super Bowl contender. You just would. It's hard to view it that way because you understand rookie quarterback, right? You understand that. And you understand this defense probably needs to really kind of get better and better and better. But if you didn't know that, if you were just watching these games, the last few games, and you had no idea Jayden Daniels was a rookie, you would be like, this is a Super Bowl contender right now. You would say that absolutely, they got to be favored to make it to the NFC Championship game at a minimum, right? I mean, like, you're going to pick the 49ers over this team? And again, you would pick the 49ers only because you know everything that happened in the past, right? Same thing with the Packers, same thing with the Lions, same thing with, I don't even know, the Cowboys, Eagles, whoever, right? But if you didn't know anything about the past, nothing about the past for any of these teams, and you're just looking at what's going on right now, who are you picking? Maybe the Minnesota Vikings. That's probably the best argument. But you would just say, yeah, the Commanders have to be at the top. Have to be at the top. Top 3, top 4 team minimum. It's just wild. Absolutely utter insanity. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders and Jayden Daniels continuing his apparent NFL domination? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.